Means we're putting back together and we're fixing without parts from Bugatti, and we've already done and accomplished what we were told couldn't be done, which is give us confidence.
Everything began with something that looked like the end of a dream. A Bugatti Chiron Per Sport, one of the rarest and most expensive cars ever built, suddenly ended up destroyed in a crash that nobody expected. This was not just any car. It was a machine worth around $6 million, and only 60 of them exist in the entire world. When something like this gets damaged, it is not treated like a normal accident. It becomes a story, a mystery, and in some cases, a battle between engineering pride and human determination. The car was owned by a content creator, and after a serious crash in Miami, the front of the vehicle was completely destroyed. The headlights were gone, the hood was crushed, and the structure had taken a heavy impact. Most people looking at the wreck would only see one thing: a total loss. Insurance companies agreed, and the repair cost was estimated so high that fixing it made no financial sense. That is why the car was sent to a salvage auction instead of being repaired through official channels. But this is where the story starts to become something much bigger than just a crash. Instead of ending the journey, the destruction created a new beginning. The wrecked Bugatti was not forgotten. It was bought again, not by a collector who wanted to store it, but by someone who wanted to rebuild it. This decision changed everything because it set the stage for a challenge that most people thought was impossible. A car that expensive, that complex, and that heavily damaged was now going to be rebuilt outside of the factory that created it. And that alone raised serious questions. Could a machine designed with extreme precision still be repaired without the company's direct support? Or was this car truly beyond saving? This is where curiosity turns into tension, because the story is no longer about a crash. It is about a fight between human skill and one of the most advanced car manufacturers in the world. When the wrecked Bugatti changed hands, the responsibility of rebuilding it fell into the hands of a well-known YouTube mechanic who had already built a reputation for doing the impossible. This man, known for taking damaged supercars and bringing them back to life, was not a factory engineer and did not have access to Bugatti's private tools or systems. What he had was experience, determination, and a workshop that relied more on creativity than official procedures. He had rebuilt Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and many other high-performance machines. But this was different. A Bugatti Chiron is not just another supercar. It is one of the most advanced vehicles ever made, built with carbon fiber structure, a massive quad-turbo W16 engine, and systems so complex that even basic repairs often require factory-level support. Despite all this, the decision was made to proceed. The car was transported to his workshop in Miami, where the rebuild process began under intense attention from viewers and the automotive community. However, what made things even more complicated was a reaction from Bugatti itself. The manufacturer made it clear that this type of repair was not supported outside their official facilities. They even offered to take the car to their headquarters in France, where a full assessment and repair could be carried out under controlled conditions. But that option was rejected. At that moment, the project became more than just a repair job. It became a test of independence, skill, and engineering knowledge. Soon after, things escalated further when parts became impossible to source. The vehicle identification number was flagged in a way that restricted official parts access, making it extremely difficult to obtain genuine Bugatti components anywhere in the world. This forced the team to rely on alternative solutions, custom fabrication, and deep inspection of every damaged section of the car. What started as a rebuild quickly turned into a complex investigation into how one of the world's most exclusive machines is actually constructed. And as the car was slowly taken apart, something unexpected was waiting to be discovered inside it, something that would spark global debate about luxury engineering and shared automotive technology. As the teardown of a Bugatti Chiron Per Sport continued, the team expected to find completely unique, custom-made parts designed only for this hypercar. After all, when a car costs $6 million, the natural assumption is that every single component inside it is exclusive and built from scratch for that model alone. But what they discovered challenged that belief in a surprising way. While carefully removing damaged components from the interior and safety systems, part numbers began to reveal something unexpected. The airbags installed inside the Bugatti did not have completely unique identifiers. Instead, Some of them match components used in other vehicles from within the larger Volkswagen group. For example, certain knee airbags and passenger airbags shared identical part numbers with those found in more affordable models like the Audi A3. This discovery created a wave of discussion online because it seemed strange at first glance. How could a car worth millions use parts that exist in vehicles costing a fraction of that price? However, the reality of automotive engineering is more complex than it appears. Large automotive groups often share components across different brands to improve reliability, reduce development costs, and meet strict safety regulations. Even luxury manufacturers are not completely isolated from this system. But even with this explanation, the discovery still felt shocking to many viewers because it clashed with the image of total exclusivity that brands like Bugatti are known for. The idea that a hypercar could contain shared parts raised questions about what buyers are actually paying for when they invest in such extreme luxury. Is it purely performance, design, and engineering excellence? Or is part of the value also built on perception and branding? These questions spread quickly across social media, turning a technical detail into a global debate about transparency in the automotive world. Meanwhile, the rebuild team continued their work, focusing on replacing damaged structural parts that could no longer be sourced through official channels due to restrictions. This forced them to rely heavily on custom fabrication, engineering skill, and external specialists who could reproduce critical components without factory assistance. As the rebuild progressed, the project began to take on a life of its own. What was once a wrecked hypercar slowly started to resemble a functioning machine again, even though almost every stage of the process was filled with challenges. Without access to official Bugatti parts, the team had to manufacture key components from scratch, including radiators, crash structures, and mounting systems. Skilled fabricators spent hours designing and producing parts that would normally require factory-level precision tools and software. One of the most impressive moments came when a custom-built front crash structure was created entirely by hand, using measurements taken directly from the damaged chassis. Despite having no official blueprint for this process, the parts still fit perfectly into the car, showing that practical engineering skill can sometimes match industrial manufacturing. As the car neared completion, more problems appeared, including wiring issues, sensor errors, and mechanical faults caused by the crash and rebuild process. But each issue was slowly resolved through testing, adjustment, and patience. Eventually, the moment arrived when the engine was ready to start again. The massive 8.0-liter quad-turbo W16 engine, one of the most powerful production engines ever built, came back to life. For a car that had been declared effectively finished by official standards, this moment changed everything. It proved that the damage was not as absolute as originally believed, and that with enough knowledge and determination, even extremely complex machines could be revived outside their original environment. However, the story also left behind deeper questions. The discovery of shared components, the restrictions placed on parts access, and the contrast between perception and reality all combine into a larger conversation about how luxury cars are built and how much control manufacturers should have after a vehicle is sold. In the end, the rebuilt Bugatti became more than just a repaired car. It became a symbol of engineering skill, debate, and the blurred line between exclusivity and practicality in modern automotive design. As the rebuild of the Bugatti Chiron Sport continued gaining attention online, the situation began to move beyond just a garage project and into a full global debate. Bugatti, a brand known for extreme engineering and ultra-luxury vehicles, did not ignore what was happening. The company's position was clear from the start. A car that has suffered structural damage at this level should be repaired only within their official network. According to their view, the complexity of a hypercar like the Chiron is not something that should be handled casually or outside controlled environments. They even offered to take the car back to their headquarters in Molsheim, France, where a full factory-level rebuild could be carried out with specialist engineers, approved tools, and original procedures. From their perspective, this was not about control, but about safety, quality, and engineering responsibility. However, the owner of the car refused this option and chose to continue the rebuild independently with the help of a well-known YouTube mechanic. This decision created a tense situation between independent engineering and manufacturer authority. The conflict became even more serious when parts access was restricted. The The vehicle identification number was flagged in a way that made it extremely difficult to source official Bugatti components. This meant that even basic replacement parts could not be ordered through normal channels. From Bugatti's point of view, this step was likely meant to prevent improper repairs that could compromise safety or brand standards. But from the outside, it looked like a manufacturer drawing a strict line around who was allowed to repair one of its vehicles. This action triggered widespread discussion in the automotive community. Some people supported Bugatti, arguing that ultra-high-performance machines require strict control to ensure safety. Others saw it as an example of a company limiting ownership rights after a car is sold. The situation raised an important question. When someone pays millions of dollars for a vehicle, how much freedom should they have to repair it however they choose? This debate turned a single rebuild project into something much larger, touching on ownership rights, engineering ethics, and the balance between innovation and control in the modern automotive industry. While the debate was growing outside the workshop, inside the garage the reality of rebuilding a Bugatti was far more physical and demanding than any online discussion. The damaged Chiron was not just a broken car. It was a highly complex machine made from thousands of interconnected systems that all depended on precise alignment. The chassis, made from carbon fiber, required extreme care because even small errors in alignment could affect the entire structure. Unlike normal cars, where damaged sections can sometimes be replaced easily, a hypercar like this demands exact precision in every repair. Without factory tools or official support, the rebuild team had to rely on measurement, experience, and creativity. One of the most difficult parts of the process was separating and inspecting the front and rear sections of the car. According to official standards, this requires specialized equipment and controlled environments. However, in this case, the separation was carried out using a simple workshop setup. This moment became symbolic because it challenged the idea that only factory-level environments are capable of handling such work. Once the chassis was open, the true condition of the car became clearer. Some feared that the structural damage would make the project impossible, but detailed inspection revealed that much of it was reparable. This gave the team renewed confidence to continue. Another major challenge came from the cooling system. The Bugatti Chiron uses multiple radiators due to the extreme heat produced by its quad-turbocharged engine. When several of these were damaged in the crash, replacements were not easily available due to restrictions. This forced the team to work with skilled fabricators who built replacement radiators using a combination of original tanks and newly manufactured cores. These custom solutions were not simple shortcuts. They required careful engineering to ensure the car would function safely under extreme performance conditions. Each step of the rebuild highlighted the difference between factory-built precision and real-world problem-solving. It showed that while manufacturers design cars under ideal conditions, real-world repairs often require adaptation, improvisation, and hands-on engineering knowledge as the rebuild slowly reached its final stages. The Bugatti Chiron Sport began to transform from a wrecked hypercar into a functioning machine once again. The moment the engine started for the first time after the crash marked a turning point in the entire story. The massive 8.0-liter quad-turbo W16 engine, known for its extreme power and complexity, roared back to life inside a workshop that was never designed to handle such a machine. For many watching the process unfold, this moment was not just about a car starting again. It was about proving that determination and skill can sometimes overcome even the most complex mechanical challenges. However, the story did not end with just a running engine. The rebuilt car still required testing, calibration, and troubleshooting. Warning lights appeared across the dashboard, including systems related to traction control, airbags, and stability. Each issue had to be addressed one by one, showing that rebuilding a hypercar is not a single achievement, but a long process of correction and refinement. Over time, many of these problems were resolved, and the car became more stable and functional. Beyond the mechanical success, the story also left a much bigger impact on how people view luxury cars and automotive engineering. The discovery of shared components, the restrictions on parts access, and the contrast between factory authority and independent repair all contributed to a global discussion about ownership rights and transparency. It became clear that even the most expensive and exclusive cars in the world are still built within larger industrial systems that rely on shared technology and practical engineering decisions. This did not reduce the achievement of the Bugatti brand or the quality of the car, but it did change how people think about exclusivity and value. In the end, the rebuilt Bugatti became more than just a recovered vehicle. It became a symbol of modern automotive reality, where engineering excellence, corporate control, and independent skill all intersect. And as the story continues to evolve, one thing remains certain. This is not just a story about a car. It is a story about how far human determination can go when faced with something that was supposed to be impossible. As the story of the rebuilt Bugatti Chiron per sport spread across the internet, a deeper conversation started forming beneath the surface. People were no longer only interested in the crash or the rebuild itself, but in what the entire process revealed about modern luxury engineering. The idea that a $6 million hypercar could contain components shared with much cheaper vehicles shocked many viewers at first. But as the discussion grew, it became clear that this was not an unusual practice in the automotive world. Large automotive groups often design and manufacture parts that are used across multiple brands to reduce development costs, ensure safety compliance, and maintain production efficiency. This means that even highly exclusive vehicles may share certain internal components with more common cars. The important detail is not that parts are shared, but how they are engineered and calibrated for different performance levels. A shared airbag system, for example, may still be tuned differently depending on the vehicle it is installed in, even if the base component looks similar. This is where the misunderstanding often begins. Many people assume that luxury pricing guarantees completely unique components in every part of the vehicle, but in reality, automotive manufacturing is a highly interconnected system. Even the most advanced cars rely on shared supply chains and standardized safety systems. This does not mean that the engineering is simple or cheap. On the contrary, the integration of these systems into a high-performance hypercar requires extremely precise design work to ensure that everything functions perfectly under extreme conditions. What the Bugatti Chiron demonstrates is not a lack of innovation, but a balance between exclusivity and industrial practicality. However, when this reality becomes visible to the public in a dramatic way, such as through a viral teardown, it naturally creates surprise and debate. People begin to question what they are actually paying for when they purchase ultra-luxury vehicles. Is it the parts themselves, or the engineering expertise, brand identity, and performance capabilities as a whole? This question does not have a simple answer, but it is exactly what makes the story so powerful. It forces viewers to think beyond the surface and reconsider their assumptions about luxury, value, and engineering in the modern world. Another major layer of this story is the role played by independent mechanics and modern digital media platforms. Traditionally, high-end automotive engineering was something that happened behind closed factory doors, far away from public view. Only trained engineers working for manufacturers had access to the tools, data, and knowledge required to understand and repair complex machines like the Bugatti Chiron. However, the rise of platforms like YouTube has completely changed this dynamic. Skilled mechanics can now document their work in real time, allowing millions of viewers to watch complex engineering processes unfold step by step. In this case, the rebuild was not just a private workshop project. It became a global event, followed by enthusiasts, critics, engineers, and casual viewers from around the world. This level of transparency created a new kind of pressure and accountability. Every decision made in the workshop was observed, discussed, and analyzed by a large online audience. At the same time, it also created opportunities for learning and understanding that did not exist before. Viewers could see how damaged carbon fiber structures are repaired, how radiators are fabricated, and how complex wiring systems are restored. This kind of exposure helps demystify high-performance engineering and makes it more accessible to the general public. It also highlights the skill and creativity required by independent mechanics who operate outside factory systems. While manufacturers rely on controlled environments and standardized procedures, independent builders often rely on experience, problem-solving, and adaptability. This contrast became one of the most interesting aspects of the Bugatti rebuild story. It showed that engineering knowledge is not limited to corporate environments, and that practical skill can sometimes achieve results that challenge expectations. At the same time, it also raised questions about responsibility. When complex machines are rebuilt outside official systems, how should safety, quality, and accountability be managed? This tension between openness and control is now a key part of modern automotive culture, and this story brought into focus, in a very public way, and in the end, the story of the Bugatti Chiron Per Sport rebuild is not just about a crashed car being repaired. It is about how modern engineering, ownership, and technology intersect in a world where information is no longer hidden behind factory walls. What began as a dramatic accident turned into a global conversation about how luxury vehicles are built, who has the right to repair them, and what true exclusivity actually means. The rebuild process showed both the strengths and limitations of modern automotive design. On one hand, the Bugatti Chiron represents some of the most advanced engineering ever put into a production vehicle, combining extreme power, precision, and material science. On the other hand, the discovery of shared components and the reliance on broader industrial systems revealed that even the most exclusive machines are still part of a larger manufacturing ecosystem. Neither of these truths cancels the other out. Instead, they exist together, forming a more complete picture of how complex modern vehicles are created. The independent rebuild also highlighted the importance of human skill and creativity. Without factory support, the team relied on experience, problem-solving, and engineering knowledge to bring a heavily damaged machine back to life. This process demonstrated that while manufacturers design systems for ideal conditions, real-world challenges often require flexible thinking and hands-on adaptation. At a broader level, the story also reflects how digital media has changed the relationship between industries and audiences. What was once private engineering work is now public entertainment, education, and debate. Millions of viewers can now witness processes that were once completely hidden, leading to greater transparency but also greater scrutiny. Ultimately, this story is not about proving one side right or wrong. It is about understanding complexity. Luxury engineering is not just about rarity or price. It is about systems, collaboration, and precision at scale. Independent mechanics are not just repairers. They are innovators working within constraints. And modern automotive culture is no longer defined only by manufacturers, but also by the communities that observe, analyze, and participate in the story. The Bugatti rebuild is still ongoing in many ways, but its impact is already permanent. It has changed how people think about cars, value, and engineering, and it will continue to influence discussions in the automotive world for years to come.